Myself, Pooja Sharma. This is class 10th History Lesson 3 Nationalism in India, brought to you by Triveni Memorial Senior Secondary School. So, in this chapter, we are going to cover introduction part, second, First World War, Khilafat and non cooperation movement, third, differing strand within the movement, fourth, civil disobedience movement, and fifth, the sense of collective belongings. These topics we will continue or discuss in this chapter. So first is First World War, Khilafat and non-cooperation movement. So the First World War broke out in 1914 and India was under British rule. So at that time we are a colony of British. So at that time it is affected our country during the First World War period. uh, Price rose in India, which led to extreme hardship for the common people. Villagers were unwilling, required in army and had to do begar. This led to widespread anger among Indians. Also, the failure of crop at the same time led to the spread of anti-British and nationalist feeling among Indians. Many you can say that the condition of India at that time of the First World was affected economically and politically. That there was a huge increase in defense expenditure. Custom duties were raised and income tax introduced. Throughout the war periods, price increased tremendously. It just doubled between 1913 and 1918. There was forced recruitment in rural areas. Villages were called upon to supply soldiers. There was acute shortage of food in many parts of India due to failure of crops. So these are the effects of First World War on India, and so that lead the shortage of food also. So idea of satyagraha, that when Gandhiji came back to India in 1915, he introduced the this concept during his stay in South Africa, and that he feel that the idea of satyagraha emphasized that power of truth and the need to search for truth. It was suggested that if the cause was true, the fight was against injustice, then physical force was not necessary to fight against the oppressor. So, war against injustice, then physical force was not necessary. Then, to fight against the oppressor, we no need to fight. We can win without doing violence. So, for that, Gandhiji organized several satyagraha in India. Like in 1916, Gandhiji traveled to Champaran in Bihar to inspire the peasant to struggle against the oppressive plantation system. In 1917, organization of Satyagraha movement to support the peasant of Kheda district of Gujarat. In 1918, organization of Satyagraha among Ahmedabad cotton mill workers. So these are the several Satyagraha which is organized by Gandhiji after came to South Africa. Next act is, that is, Rowlatt Act. So that Rowlatt Act was an oppressive act introduced by the British government in 1919, and it gave the government enormous power to repress political activities. It allowed detention of political prisoner without trial for 2 years. So the act authorized the British officer to imprison any Indian political leader for 2 years without any trial. So for that, peoples are came out uh, to Revolt Satyagraha with Gandhiji. In 1990, rallies were organized in various cities. Workers went on strike in railways, workshops, and offices were closed down. Mm, so, the satyagraha, because the satyagraha meaning is by which a fight for truth cause for against injustice is fought without any violence. So that's the same thing that in Rowal Satyagraha, shops were closed down by the villagers, rallies were organized, peoples went on strikes, mm, and to crush this movement, British government imposed martial law. Why? Because Gandhiji started a hurtle against this injustice law on 6th April 1990. Dr. Satyapal and Dr. Saifuddin Hizvi were arrested. Jallianwala Bagh massacre occurred against the arrest of these leaders. So General Dyer took command and he imposed martial law. Martial law means no one is allowed to move back to their hometown. So at that area they are not allowed to move without the permission of General Dyer. So that incident occurred Jallianwala Bagh Massacre on the day of 13 April 1990. Baisakhi Fair was organized in Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar, and so the people of Amritsar and the many other states. So on 13th April 1919, a crowd of villagers had gathered at Jallianwala Bagh. They had come to Amritsar to attend an annual Baisakhi fair. They were unaware about the martial law imposed in Amritsar. General Dyer entered the area and blocked the exit point and opened fire on the crowd. Hundreds of people were killed in that massacre. All the news spread out where there were strikes, clashes with the police. The government responded with brutal representation by humiliating the people in many ways. This resulted in the beginning of non-cooperation movement by Gandhiji. So you can see that General Dyer ordered to close all these gates. He opened fire on the crowd. Hundred of people are died in this, and India started to attack the government buildings. This violence forced Gandhiji to stop the movement, and Gandhiji called off Revolt Satyagraha movement. After that, Gandhiji started non-cooperation movement. So what was that non-cooperation movement? That is, uh, Gandhiji wrote one book, that is, and that famous book name is Hind Swaraj, declared that the British rule was established in India with the cooperation of Indians only. So if Indian refused to cooperate, it would collapse within a year. Means the British will run back to their country within a year if Indians are not cooperate to them. So he proposed the beginning of a mass movement with the boycott of civil services and foreign goods. In case of government repressive tactics, a full disobedience campaign were launched. Many Congress leaders were doubtful about this proposal as it may lead to violence. Finally, at the Congress session at Nagpur in December 1920, a compromise between the supporters and the components of the movement was worked out, and the non-cooperation program was adopted. So, to bring Hindu and Muslim together for the non-cooperation movement, Gandhiji met Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali. These are the two brothers, because the First World War had ended with the defeat of Ottoman Turkey. There were rumors that a harsh peace treaty was going to be imposed on the Ottoman Empire. the spiritual head of the Islamic world, that is the Khilafah. To define the Khilafah's temporal powers, a Khilafat committee was formed in Bombay in March 1990. And to bring the Hindu and Muslim closer, and he felt to take the Khilafat issue. So Muslim leaders Muhammad Ali and Sohakat Ali begin discussing with Gandhiji the possibility of a united mass action on the issue. Later, at the Calcutta session in September 1920, Gandhiji convinced the leader in the Congress to start a non cooperation movement in support of Khilafat. Further, the movement was renamed as Non Cooperation Khilafat Movement. So, after that, we will look after that differing strands within this movement. So, in which places that non-cooperation movement was started. Uh, so, non-cooperation Khilafat movement launched by Gandhiji with Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali, and that is launched in January 1921. Many social groups participated in the movement, all interpreted the meaning of Swaraj in their own way. So, in every reason we can see they have their own issues to join non-cooperation movement. So what was the effect of that movement in the town, that thousand of students left government schools, government colleges, and their study which is run by government, and many headmasters and teachers resigned from their post. Lawyers gave up their legal practices and duties. Foreign goods also were boycotted by the Indians, and foreign clothes were burnt in huge bonfires. So these effect we can see in non-cooperation movement in the towns. So the movement town in the town were once it was slow down of that movement, because these it have too many things, that's why it is slow down, because that khadi cloth was more expensive than massive produced meal cloth, and poor people could not afford to buy it, and therefore could not boycott meal cloth for very long. Similarly, boycotting British institutions also posed a problem, as there were no alternatives national institution to fulfill the educational needs. As a result, students and teachers begin trickingly back to the government schools, and lawyers join back their work in the government courts. So, we can see that non-cooperation movement in the countrysides also. So, that first is in the peasant of Awadh, and that in the peasant of Awadh, we can see Baba Ramchand was the peasant leader in Awadh. He was a sannyasi who had earlier been to Fiji as an indentured laborer. He led a movement against the talukdars, landlord, you can say, of Awadh. So the peasant of Awadh had many problems, because talukdars or landlords of Awadh demanded high rent and a variety of other cases for the peasants. Peasants had to do beggar and work at landlords' farms without any payment. As tenant, they had no security of tenure. They were regularly evicted, so that they could acquire no right over the lease land. So in countryside, um, Swaraj plantation also there. Um, in that we can see they assumed no cooperation movement as a mean that could reunion with them, their families, by overruling the terms and condition of their contract. Therefore, the government had passed the Inland Immigration Act of 1815, under which plantation workers were not permitted to leave the field. Many of them defied that authority, left the plantation, and headed to home. They believed that Gandhi Raj was coming and everyone would be given land in their own villages. But their plan failed as they could not reach their destination due to railway and steamer strikes. They were caught by the police and brutally beaten up. Work when that situation happened, Gandhiji called off the movement. This movement also um, had taken place in tribal of Andhra Pradesh also. Government prevented them from entering into forest to graze cattle and collect firewood, which they considered to be their natural right. This was protested by the tribals. Government wanted them to do begar and began road building and other government activities in the area. They were not ready to do this and rebelled. Alori Sitaram Raju emerged as a tribal leader and showed faith in Gandhiji. He emphasized on guerrilla warfare against the government and started such activities in 1920s. Gudam rebel attacked police stations and attempted to kill the British officials. They restored to guerrilla uh, warfare, but in 1924, Raju was executed and hanged. So we can see that these non-cooperation movements are um, has been taken some violent. That's why Gandhiji called off non-cooperation movement. Some important facts are also there in the non-cooperation movement that Bal Gangadhar Tilak, the first leader of Indian independence movement, died on 1st August 1920. On the same day, non-cooperation movement was formally announced. That the same day we are remember for Bal Gangadhar Tilak's death and first form, or you can say non-corporation movement also form on that day. So after that, Gandhiji now want Gandhiji withdraw the non-cooperation movement due to violent incident of Chori Chora in Gorakhpur, where the people are fired by Britishers without any um, trial or without um, any wrong things were done. Gandhiji now started another movement, that was civil disobedience movement. Because in the period of non-cooperation movement to civil disobedience movement, now the political leaders have a too much time to do, because now any movement is not started by Gandhiji. So at that time, the Congress leaders were formed the Swaraj party. Many political leaders suggested the idea of fighting the Britishers from within the Legislative Council. So C.R. Das and Motilal Nehru formed Swaraj Party in 1922 to participate council legislative. That's why they will connect with the Britishers and to know the strategy of British government. So they are participated in elections. So they formed Swaraj Party in 1922. So in that Swaraj Party, leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose pressed for a more radical mass agitation, and for that reasons of the civil disobedience movement was two things, that is Simon Commission of 1927 and the Great Economic Depression of 1929. So what was the Simon Commission? that the Simon Commission, that Indian members of the Central Legislative Assembly exposed some drawbacks in the Government of Indian Act of 1919, because now the people are make their own party, that is Swaraj Party, so they want to participated in provisional legislative assembly. So but that time the Government of India Act of 1990 that forced people to go against that Simon Commission. So, in the Simon Commission, as a result of it, the Simon Commission was appointed in 1927 to suggest any further reforms for constitution purpose. So, the Simon this commission consisted of 7 members, and its chairman was Sir John Simon. And Indians boycotted it as there were no Indian member in that. That's why, because all are Britishers in that commission. Moreover, there was no indication of Swaraj, because if any rule and regulation is made for Indian, so if Indian peoples are not in that, so how it will be indicated as Swaraj? So, which was the first priority of Indians, and that's why when this commission arrived in India in 1928, it was met with demonstration with banners that Simon go back. Peoples are going against Simon, um, because the the Viceroy Lord Irwin, in an effort to win over the protester, announced a vague offer of a dominant state for India in an unspecified future, and a round table conference to discuss future constitution. That the Congress leaders were not satisfied with this announcement. The radicals within the Congress, led by Jawaharlal Nehru and Subhash Chandra Bose, became more assertive. The Lahore Conference of the Congress was held in 1929, the over by Jawaharlal Nehru. So, when the Simon Commission arrived in India in 1928, it was greeted with the slogan "Go back." Simon, Congress, Muslim League, and all other political parties appraised the Simon Commission. In the Simon Commission, during this period, that in that the police did lathi charge at Lahore in the protest of Simon Commission. As a result, Lala Lajpat Rai died in that thing. The second is non-cooperation movement. Civil disobedience movement have another cause, that is Great Depression. That depression had deep impact on the agriculture and industrial goods. Poverty increased by 1930s due to high taxes, because now taxes are increasing day by day, and people are not able to fill it. So, civil disobedience movement. For that, Gandhiji uh, have one pact with Lord Irwin. So in that, Gandhiji sent a letter in that on 31st May, 31st January 1930, he sent a letter to Irwin with 11 demands, and that most steering of all demands was that to abolish salt tax, because Gandhiji know that that is the basic thing, uh, that is salt as a symbol to unite the nation, as everyone use it in a daily life and pay tax for it, even he or she is a rich or poor. So Gandhiji written one letter to Irwin with the 11 demands. The most steering of all demands was the demand to abolish salt tax. Salt was something consumed by the rich and the poor alike. It was one of the most essential item of food. The tax on salt and the government's monopoly on its production reveal the most oppressive phase of the British rule. The demand were not fulfilled. So on 11 March 1930, Mahatma Gandhi ji started his famous salt march along with 78 volunteers from his ashram in Sabarmati in Gujarat. On 6th April, he reached Dandi and violated the law by manufacturing salt by boiling sea water as well. So, in civil disobedience movement, colonial government started arrested all political leaders. Gandhiji was also arrested. Total of 60,000 Indians were arrested in that. Civil in that civil disobedience movement was stopped by Gandhiji because now it is also going violented. So, all prisoners were released. Gandhiji instead for second round table conference, and in that Gandhiji signed Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Gandhi-Irwin Pact was signed on the March 1931. By this pact, Gandhiji uh, consented to participate in round table conference. The conference had boycotted the first round table conference in London. The British government agreed to release the political prisoners. In December 1931, Gandhiji went to London for the conference, but the negotiation broke down and he returned disappointed. Withdraw their provision of that pact was withdrawal of all ordinance and end of prosecutions, release all political prisoners except those guilty of violence, permit peacefully picking of liquor and foreign clothes shop. So at that time, Gandhiji also packed one more pact, that is Pune Pact. That is in 1932. After that 2 years, that was that Gandhiji want to improve the condition of untouchability in India. That head was B.R. Ambedkar. That he formed an organization called Depressed Class Association. He believed that political empowerment could resolve the problem of their society or social disability. He demands separate electoral for Dalits. But Gandhiji wished to eliminate untouchability. He called the untouchable Harijans. He organized satyagraha to secure for them to entry into temples and use of public well, roads, schools, etc. He himself cleaned toilets to show respect to the work of a sweeper. He believed that separate electoral will slow down the process of their integration into society. So that's why Gandhiji signed one pact, that is Pune Pact, between Gandhiji and B.R. Ambedkar. Ambedkar finally accepted Gandhiji's position in 1932. The Pune Pact was signed. According to this pact, seats were according to this pact, seats were reserved in the provisional and central legislative council for Dalits. They were to be voted in by the general electors. So, Pune Pact was signed successfully by Gandhiji and Ambedkar. So our last topic of this chapter, that sense of collective belongings. To increase the national feeling in the people of India, some symbols and some collective belonging were used. Reasons for development of nationalism in India, that is united struggle. So you can see that many satyagrahas movement was started, in non-cooperation movement, civil disobedience movement also um, taken in a different places. That another process was that the cultural process, in that peoples are convinced by many other belongings. And that allegory was also used. That is one portrait is that Bharat Mata. The image of Bharat Mata was first created by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay in the 1870s. He wrote Vande Mataram as the hymn of the motherland, and later it was introduced his novel Anand Mat and widely sung during the Swadeshi movement in Bengal. That Bharat Mata was portrayed to show um, that she is calm, composed, divine and spiritual. This mother figure came to be seen as evidence of one's nationalism. Mother figures shows as dispensing learning, food, and clothing. So it convinced the people of the country. And in that we can already discuss, it is further converted in a poem, then in a song. It is our national song, that is Vande Matram, that is written by Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay. And then flag also used to mm, increase the feeling of nationalism, that is earlier. Now we have a flag which is three color, uh, orange, white, and green. But earlier it have red, green, and white, and that we have eight flowers and half crescent moon to um, which is made in Bangar earlier. But after that, Gandhiji had in 1921, Gandhiji had designed the Swaraj flag. It was given a tricolor orange, white, and green. Had a spinning wheel in the center representing the Gandhian ideal of self-help. Carrying the flag, holding it aloft during marches became a symbol of defense. So Gandhi, in the flag of India, which is designed by Gandhiji, it has a depiction of the Buddhist Dharma Chakra. 24 spokes represent the edict of Ashoka. In between, we have a one chakra in the white color. So Indian independence Gandhiji started Quit Indian movement in 1942. It was extremely successful, and Jawaharlal Nehru delivered a speech tryst with destiny on the eve of 15 August 1947 in the Indian Parliament. With this speech, India became an independent nation. Uh, Jawaharlal Nehru, first Prime Minister of India, and he gave speech after independence. So we can see that different symbols also used by different thing to inspire people, like folklore. The historian recorded folk tales and folk songs, given the true picture of traditional culture that had been corrupted and damaged by the outside forces. In order to restore a sense of pride, their representation of was essential. um, and a reinterpretation of history also. The Indian historian wrote about the glorious development in ancient time, when art and architecture, science and mathematics, religion and culture, laws and philosophy, crafts and trade had flourished. And now all these declined due to the policy, all the colonial government. So we can see all these things are impact to promote the sense of nationalism in India. Each walk of life in the Indian reflected the sign of the colonial exploitation. The industries and the traders had restricted opportunities. The rich peasantry were laden with revenue demand. The educated class stood in the queues for jobs. The small peasant had to pay many taxes. Laborers had low wages and bad working conditions. The leaders had limited opportunities to participate in the government. All these put an anger and dissent in the mind of the general people, and that's why all the people are come for Quit Indian movement in 1942, and we are extremely successful in that movement. And after in 1947, we get freedom from Britishers. So our chapter is completed. I hope all the terms are clear. Thank you, everyone.